Social media algorithms are constantly changing. Photographers are working harder to get less reach across the board. What if I told you there's an alternative that takes less effort, gets you in front of your entire audience, and you control 100%? Today, we're talking about email newsletters. For the past year, I've sent a newsletter every single week and grown it to nearly 2,000 subscribers with 50% open rates. Today, I'm teaching you how you can do the same. If it's your first time here, my name is Chris Pieta. I teach creative business and run a production company. Most newsletters fail in the first few months because people have no strategy. This video is breaking down the why, the how, and at the end, I'm telling you my secret to how I was able to generate nearly 2,000 subscribers in under a year. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all these social media channels rely on one thing to bring your content in front of your audience: the algorithm. Every social media has its own algorithm which dictates who is going to see your content and how many people are going to see it. And yeah, social media companies say if your content is valuable and good, they'll show it to a bunch of people. But that's not always the case. How can we guarantee all of our audience sees our stuff? An email newsletter. There's no algorithms going on in your inbox. You get an email and you either open it or archive it, and that's it. No algorithm pushing certain emails to the top. Everything is sorted by when you got the email. And yeah, there are a lot of times where you get an email, read the subject, and archive it before even opening it. But at least you read the subject line. You gave that email a chance. In the world of social media, you won't even see half the content from most of the people you follow. I get comments like this all the time. I wish Instagram would show more of your stuff to me. People literally asking the app to push more of my content to them. It's a hard landscape to compete in, but I just focus on doing the work. I can't control what an algorithm does, but my email list is completely in my control. Over the past couple of years, I've built out an email list of thousands of my followers. These are the people really eager to learn, and they really care about starting and scaling their own creative business. They're driven to succeed. Every week, I send out my newsletter, and about half of my newsletter subscribers end up opening it. That's a pretty insane engagement rate if you think about it. Imagine posting something on social media and half of your followers liking it. That would be insane. Because of the high open rate of emails, you're able to engage with your audience better and deliver that value that you strive for. Now, I'm painting a really pretty picture of an email newsletter here. The reality is they're really hard to get right. It's hard to get people to give you your email. It's hard to create something people want to open. My first newsletter I started back in 2020, and after a year, it only had 200 subscribers and the open rates were 20 to 30%. Not great. I was only sending it once every 2 weeks, and there's one critical mistake I made. I thought it was a good newsletter, but the numbers didn't lie. The problem with this newsletter was that I made it about me. I talked about what photos I shot that week, what new gear I was using, what lesson I learned. It simply wasn't about my audience. I wasn't writing a newsletter. I was essentially writing a journal for myself. Now, don't get me wrong, journaling is great, but if you want a successful newsletter, you need to know what your audience wants and you need to make it about them. If you need an example of this, subscribe to my newsletter and see what I do. Link for that is below the video. Newsletter 101. What makes a good newsletter? I've gone through a lot of iterations over the years, and I think I've landed on something that really resonates with people. The guiding principle here is you need to make it about the person reading the newsletter. The newsletter isn't about you, it's about your audience. How do I accomplish this? My process is pretty simple. I try and think of something that I struggled with back when I was starting my creative business that I think my audience might struggle with too. I write a short story on that topic. What was my dream outcome? What was the obstacle I was facing? And how did I overcome that? The topics vary week to week, and there's always something fresh. For example, I was struggling with low ticket clients that were barely paying $1,000 for a photo project. I figured out how to turn that $1,000 client into a $10,000 client. I share my struggle, I share what I did, and I provide actionable steps for my audience to do the same. Now you're probably noticing that the newsletter is still talking about me a lot, and that's fine. I'm using storytelling as a way to deliver value to my audience. And yes, while the story is about me, it's really meant for my audience to put themselves in my shoes and live what I lived. I'm not journaling for myself, I'm writing for my audience. Providing value is the biggest thing you need to do when writing your newsletter. The word value gets thrown around a lot on the internet. Provide value to an audience and they will come. But what does value mean? What makes content valuable? My old newsletter was just me sharing photos that weren't important to my audience. They see pretty pictures all over social. That wasn't valuable. My current newsletter teaches creative business in a way that they can't find anywhere else. Each week, they learn something new that they can apply. It's years of my own experiences condensed into a few paragraphs. That's the kind of value I'm talking about. If you want an example, there's a link below that shows you my newsletter. You don't even need to put in your email address to see that example. You're going to need to figure out what value you can deliver. You can start by asking yourself, what experiences have shaped my life? Each of us have a unique set of experiences that have gotten us to where we are now. Ask yourself, what are you good at? Photography, filmmaking, writing stories, whatever it is, you can merge your life experiences with what you're good at to provide valuable insight into how you got to where you are. And you might say, well, Chris, I'm not good yet. I'm still learning. Do you think that people would be interested in learning alongside with you? You're better than you were a year ago, right? What if your target audience is you from a year ago? You're a few steps ahead and people will be able to relate to that. It's very hard to find a topic and it's okay to switch it up until you land on something that sticks. But don't forget the next part of the equation during this process. Consistency. I talk about consistency a lot on this channel. You need to be consistent when sending emails to new leads every day. Post consistently to grow on social. Practice your craft every day. The reason I talk about consistency so much is that's the recipe for success. Do something consistently for a long period of time and you will succeed. It's a boring formula, but it works and there's no shortcuts. Your newsletter is no exception. If you want a successful newsletter, you're going to have to be consistent. First, pick a sending frequency, either every week or every 2 weeks. If you're just starting out, every 2 weeks is totally fine. But remember, the more often you send it, the more people will remember it. So let's say you pick every 2 weeks. You better send it every 2 weeks. Newsletters need to be on a schedule like this. It's like a magazine subscription. You expect it to come every month. Same is true with a newsletter. Consistency is critical in creating a valuable newsletter. Over time, people will become more and more excited for your content. They'll recognize your consistent sending schedule and look forward to it every week. Pick a sending schedule that works for you and stick with it. Newsletters aren't that time consuming to write either. Maybe 1 or 2 hours every 2 weeks. That's not a big time commitment. Now, how do we actually get people to sign up for our newsletters? I've been asking you to sign up for mine throughout this entire video. First, you start off with what value you provide, and then you ask them to subscribe. That's it. You could do something like this. Do you want creative business tips in your inbox weekly? Click the link down below the video to join my newsletter. See, simple as that. I started by telling you what value the audience gets, creative business tips, and then I asked them to join. It's easy, it's pain-free, and guaranteed to get you a sign up. Okay, there's one more way we can get people to sign up, and most of my subscribers are actually from this method. I'm gonna save this method for the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Let's talk about sending platforms really quick. There's a lot of places that you can host a newsletter these days. It doesn't really matter what you choose to start. Here's what I recommend. First off, I use Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one platform. I love the newsletter feature in it. It's got a lot of analytics. It's great, but it's really expensive and it's not for everyone. It's $150 a month. So if you don't plan on building a website or using their funnels, it's not really worth it. ConvertKit, on the other hand, is way more affordable. It's free for your first 1,000 subscribers. That's a great deal for you. It's got a lot of tools and analytics, and it's a great place to start. I'd recommend going through ConvertKit if you're just starting out. When you start creating a newsletter, you'll see a bunch of templates. From my experience, the simpler the template, the better. Right now, my newsletter is just straight text and it's working really well. Pick a simple template and stick with it. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the subject line. The subject line is your hook. It's what will convince readers to open it. You want to instill a sense of curiosity and stir up a question in their head that will make them want to click. This is really hard to do, but over time, you'll get better at this. All right, let's talk about my secret method to getting subscribers that I mentioned earlier. It's called a lead magnet. Some of you have already heard of these, but essentially, they're just something that you give away for free in exchange for an email. I actually have 2 lead magnets. One is my free creative business checklist. It will jumpstart your creative business in 30 days and help you go from no business to business where you can actually get clients. It's a 4-page document that's available for free on my website, and all you have to do is put in your email. When someone downloads this, they're subscribed to my newsletter. They can always unsubscribe if they want to, but 99% of the time, they don't. My other lead magnet is a free 30-minute course on getting your first paying client. I created a whole free course as a lead magnet. I scripted it out, recorded it, and published it. It teaches you the exact steps to take to get your first paying client. It's crazy that I'm offering it for free because there's so much value in it, but that's what a powerful lead magnet is. It's an offer so compelling your audience can't help but want it. They'll subscribe to your newsletter in exchange for that lead magnet, and once they're subscribed and see all the value you deliver, they love the newsletter and keep coming back for more. The newsletter delivers value, and value is the name of the game here. Provide value, do it consistently, and you'll have a great newsletter. My name is Chris Pieta. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.